All right, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. This is the Pangborn Valley Civic Association Virtual Candidate Forum. My name is Nicholas Smith. I'm the president of the Pangborn Valley Civic Association. And also with us, we have Rigby Duncan, who is our secretary, and Diane Lewis, our treasurer, and Angela Barnett, our VP, as well as other members of the Pangborn Valley Civic Association. We're also recording this and we will post it onto YouTube and circulate that link on Nextdoor and through the association so that folks can watch this forum who weren't able to participate tonight. So I understand that there's a scheduling conflict for the House, Georgia House seat 86. They have a young DeKalb Democrat forum this evening that starts at 7. So we're going to switch up the schedule a little bit and let those folks go first. And then we'll go back to our order where we'll start with the US Congress for the 4th District. Then we'll move on to State Senate, seat 41, DeKalb District 6, Tax Commissioner, and we'll conclude with Public Service Commissioner. Just some ground rules. I've got everyone on mute. When it is time for your race, I will unmute all the candidates in that race for that portion of the program. So please keep that in mind that you're unmuted for your entire portion while your race is being addressed. We're going to start this evening with a stump speech. Everyone will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to give a stump speech. Please excuse the interruptions. We're trying to keep the program on schedule. So when you hit that 30-minute and 30 mark, you know, I will chime in to let you know. We're going in the order that folks appear on the ballot. So that's how we've decided. After the stump speech, we'll have 2 questions for the candidates, and then we change up the order a little bit. We go up and down the ballot, basically, for those 2 questions. Those questions are timed, and I'll let you know the time limit at the beginning. If you're running against an incumbent and you say something that directly criticizes that incumbent, you know, we will give that incumbent 30 seconds to address that at the conclusion of your portion. But please keep in mind, this isn't a debate. This is really about our chance to get to know you as candidates so that we're informed when we make our choices over the next few weeks. So with that, I'm going to unmute the Georgia House 86. There we go. See, so I think I've got, there we go. I've got Ladina Bolton, Michelle Henson, Zulma Lopez, and Jocelyn O'Neill. So,
Good evening.
how are you guys doing?
Hi, thank you for
Right.
Thank you for working your schedule so that you could come talk to us. I know sometimes it can get crazy with competing forums. But we're just going to jump into this. So we are going to start with Ms. Bolton with your stump speech. And sorry for the low-tech nature of our timer, but it's just my phone I'm going to hold up. So hopefully you can see that on the screen. And see, so Ms. Bolton, I'm going to put 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock. And let's see, you're on mute for some reason.
Is that better?
There we go. Okay. So, all right, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nicholas. Thank you to Pangborn Valley for allowing us this opportunity. Again, I am Dr. Ladina Bolton. I am a proud wife of an educator, a mother of 3 boys. I'm also an award-winning chemist, in addition to a community advocate. I was raised here in DeKalb County. I'm raising my children here. So I really do understand the needs of our community, and all of my life I have been serving here. I graduated from Savannah State University, and I was able to go there on Hope Scholarship, followed by getting my PhD at Clark Atlanta University. Going to those institutions in Georgia, they did allow me to be able to do work with the Department of Energy on energy sustainability, which we're looking forward to in the future, as well as receiving federal funding to do work on health disparities and how they affect our communities. And I've also traveled around the world on behalf of the Army in support of our national security. Not only do I have this federal experience, but I've also served locally in my homeowners association, of course, at school with my children and with my commissioner. But what I'd really like you to remember or to learn from what I'm saying today is through the pandemic, I have been working very closely with the community. I've helped hundreds of families get fed. I've helped our essential workers get personal protective equipment, as well as help business owners get resources. So I do believe that we need someone from our community here to help serve our community. So if I'm so honored to be your state representative, I'll use both my federal and local commitment to our communities to help restore DeKalb County. You're muted, Nick.
Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Bolton. So, all right, we're going to move on next to Michelle Henson.
Representative Michelle Henson.
All right, thank you. Hey, Michelle. So, minute and 30 on the clock, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good evening to the Pangborn Valley Civic Association. Thank you for sponsoring this forum. I'm running for re-election for Nick. That's right in the way. Okay, thank you. I've lived and worked in the central DeKalb area for 40 years and represent DeKalb residents for 30 years at the Capitol. And during these challenging times, our community needs a resourceful and experienced leader who has the skills and legislative knowledge to help DeKalb citizens. I have the seniority to serve on the powerful budget committee as we deal with major cuts to all our department and agencies. And before we do all the cuts and the furloughs and layoffs, I believe it is essential to look for ways to generate revenues, such as eliminating tax breaks for industries and corporations, and possibly a tax increase on cigarettes. I also serve on Health and Human Service, Economic Development and Tourism, and Small Business Administration, which are very important committees, especially going into this coming year. I believe that an effective legislator should be judged by the bills they support and help pass, or the bills they oppose because they're bad for our county and its citizens. They should also be judged by their responses to their constituents. I've always been available and accessible to my constituent and have worked hard to help them resolve these issues. And I've worked cooperatively across the aisle and believe in compromise when it doesn't conflict with my core values. And I will finish up with my closing remarks. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then next, we're gonna move on to Zilma Lopez. So Ms. Lopez, we have a minute and 30 seconds on the clock, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Zilma Lopez. I'm excited to be here this evening with you. I am from Puerto Rico, and I moved to District 86 in Central DeKalb almost 13 years ago, and it's what I've chosen to raise my family and my 4 children who attend DeKalb public schools. It's also where I have my small business, and I'm the only small business owner in this race. I also wanted you to know that I learned how to overcome adversity at a very young age. When I was 16 years old, I started working at my dad's bakery, which was struggling at the time. And we soon lost our family business. And my parents really lost pretty much everything. I have to work hard to overcome my circumstances to pay my way through college and through law school. And I've been a licensed attorney for the last 16 years. I now practice immigration law, and I have my office in DeKalb County. I'm also the only candidate in this race who have knocked on over 2,000 doors, walking all over District 86, having conversations with you that are going to inform the decisions that I make as your next state representative. And I hope that gives you an indication of the type of representative that I am going to be. I am going to listen to you, and I am going to work hard. I believe that my diverse experience and background it makes me the more relatable candidate and the most qualified candidate to tackle the most pressing issue that we have now, which is to tackle this budget while preserving working families, children, and small business owners.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lopez. And then we'll move on to Jocelyn O'Neill.
Well, good evening, and I just want to say hello to everyone. And I want to say also that it's exciting to see folks jumping into this race, knowing that our communities need, I'm seeing your timer.
All right, well, you started, so if you want to start, sorry about that.
Okay.
But so if this is a minute and 30, you can use it however you'd like.
I could probably use an hour, but I'll just talk about some of the things that I've done. I'm a grassroots community person. I've been community president 3 terms. I've worked with the code enforcement. I've worked with the court system, court watch. I was one of the original people that asked for community support and learning more about what goes on in our court system. I'm also the registered agent with community service through probate court for community service hours. I've done quite a few things in our neighborhood in the Vista area, Candler Road, Interstate 20. I'm all over the communities. My background is in education. Went to college in New Orleans, Louisiana. I graduated second in my class in accounting program. So we can all flash our degrees, different things, but I have a record of tackling issues in the community right now, today, yesterday, and will continue to no matter what. I just want to say that I'm just glad that we are out here supporting the communities, looking forward to making things happen in a community, not just where we live, but the surrounding communities. We need economic development in Southeast DeKalb, getting the MARTA and getting more transportation and getting better, having better businesses come into our area. One of the things that I'm really, really high on is if we look better, we act better, and we draw better businesses. Right now,
thank you,
in the
Ms.
Linwood
O'Neill.
area, we have 9 gas stations within a 2-mile radius. You know, our
Ms. O'Neill,
education
thank you for
system.
the opening. Okay, we're going to move on. I know.
Okay.
It's not, the time passes really quickly. It's not enough time, definitely.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of candidates tonight. So we're going to move on to our questions. And every candidate in this race is going to get the same questions. So if I can cheat and only read them once, that'd be great. But when I come to you, if you'd like me to repeat it, I'm more than happy to. So the first question, and you will have a minute to respond to this question. And it is, our members live in the proposed footprint of Vista Grove. How would you vote on legislation that would allow citizens to decide whether the city gets created or not? And we're going to reverse order and go back up the ballot. So Ms. O'Neill, we're going to start with you.
I've been involved in cityhood issues for many, many years. La Vista Grove, Greenhaven. And what I'd like to say is there was a reason that the communities decided that they wanted to develop a city. Economics was one of them. Then we started dealing with disparities of the government not doing what the communities needed. So the ideas come up, well, we can do this. We can share with the county, but we can do this. We can make these areas stay as they are or improve where they need to be. La Vista Grove, they have a right to vote. The folks with Green Haven, they have a right to vote. That's a right that we have in the United States, the right to vote.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. O'Neill. And let's see, I'm gonna move on to, let's see, Ms. Lopez with that same question.
Thank you for that question. This is a attorney issue. In District 86, we have those proposed two cities. One is La Vista Grove, which encompasses the area northern of the district, and Green Haven on the south part. Throughout my conversations with residents, I can honestly say that most of the residents that I talked with were not in support of the creation of these new cities. So at this moment, I don't feel comfortable of supporting any of them. I do acknowledge that both sides on this issue are trying to create better communities, and I'm willing to listen as we move forward. But at this moment, I will not support that referendum.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lopez. Thank you for the succinct answer. We're gonna move on to, let's see, Michelle Henson, Ms. Henson. So you have 1 minute and the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is not just a simple yes or no. La Vista Grove and Green Haven have different reasons for wanting to become incorporated. With La Vista Grove, you have the encroachment of cities that can annex the crucial commercial areas without going through the legislature, ultimately leaving you at the very small footprint. That is very different than Green Haven. I've been approached by a lot of citizens, both for and against. I am more inclined because of the potential, because of what is happening up there with the annexations, to support the city of Vista Grove. However, this year, I don't believe it's going to be happening because of the chaos that is caused by COVID-19 and the fact that at this point, we don't know what revenues are in DeKalb County or in the state of Georgia.
All right, thank you. And then finally, on that question, we're going to move on to Dr. Bolton. Let's see, and I see, there we go. You're off of mute.
Thank you. I think my answer is going to be brief as well, and I'm going to echo the other candidates and say I would actually separate the idea of how I would respond as a state rep versus my personal vote. I believe in democracy. I believe that each individual should be permitted to give, to share their voice, and democracy says majority rules. So I would support a referendum to allow folks to vote, but I would vote no. I do understand why the referendum was put forward. You are an island around other incorporated communities. I would vote no for incorporation, but I would support the referendum for citizens to vote.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bolton, for the candid response. So we're going to move on to our next question. And then after this question, we're going to conclude with 1 minute for the candidates to give concluding remarks and pitch their website or contact information if they'd like. But this second and final question is, the DeKalb Ethics Board was ruled unconstitutional by the Georgia Supreme Court because some of the members of the board were appointed by those who were not subject to an election. Would you vote, and it's a compound question here, would you vote yes on a simple fix to the board to simply adjust the way members are appointed that would conform with the Georgia Supreme Court opinion? Also, if you think additional fixes to the DeKalb Ethics Board are needed, would you allow that to be accomplished in separate legislation so at least a board could be reconstituted relatively quickly? And Dr. Bolton, we'll start with you.
So those both sounded like yes or no questions, so I'm going to give you yes or no answers. I absolutely believe in the simple fix, so yes, I would support a simple fix. And I also believe that any other changes that I think are necessary should be done in a separate referendum, because of course they are stalling and holding up the process, ultimately affecting families, keeping them in limbo, those who do have cases. So yes.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bolton. Let's see. And then we're going to move on to Ms. Henson.
Thank you. I support a simple fix and very much in favor of it. It's what the citizens of DeKalb County voted for. With regard to the other issues, I think are incredibly important to an ethics board. We currently have a charter review commission, and I hope that they're the ones that will bring forward the additional fixes that have to be done, both to the ethics board and anything else that they see regarding DeKalb County.
All right. Thank you. Let's see. And then Ms. Lopez.
Well, I was a member of the Georgia Bar Investigative Panel, which is the panel that reviews ethics complaints against attorneys all over the state of Georgia. So that tells you an idea of where I'm coming from on this issue. I believe in strong ethics, in transparency in government, and integrity. And so to answer both of your questions, that would be a yes. We need to just move on with a simple fix. That's the community has spoken loudly. And any other issues that we are definitely more areas for improvement can be done in a separate manner.
All right, thank you. And then Ms. O'Neill.
I definitely believe that we can do a simple fix to move on with this ethics board. Legislation is something that as Ms. Henson mentioned, the Charter Review Board, they are the experts and they know exactly what needs to go into the ethics bill. And we need to go on and take care of that. As Ms. Lopez said, you know, there are people that are hanging in limbo because we don't have the board that's set up to do the job that people have voted. You know, it was once working and it should work again. So we need to go on and move forward, do the legislation as soon as possible.
All right, thank you, Ms. O'Neill. And then we are going to have the 1 minute concluding remarks. And so we will start with you, Ms. O'Neill. And if you want to give contact information or pitch your website, this would be your opportunity to do that, because this will conclude your portion of our program. So Ms. O'Neill, 1 minute on the clock and the floor is yours.
www.jocelynoneal.org. I'm a grassroots community person. I want to see our communities improve, our district improve, DeKalb County can improve. There are many, many things that all of the ladies that are running for this office, we all have something to offer. And no matter who gets in that position, I am the best person for that position, but I would also like to know that whoever it is, that we work together on the ideas. We have a scientist here, we have an attorney here, we have a legislator here of many, many years. There's no reason for DeKalb County, for the District 86, not to show the improvements, because we have the interest and the heart and the love for our area. Jocelyn O'Neill, the real deal.
All right, thank you, Ms. O'Neill. See, and then Ms. Lopez, so same thing. We have 1 minute on the clock and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for those words. I agree that it's wonderful that we have for women in this race. You can find more information about me. My website is www.sulmaforgeorgia.com. I look forward to continuing this conversation, to learning from each other, and to make our House District 86 a better community to live in. I believe that I am the most qualified candidate in this race because of my experience, because of my diverse background, and my qualifications. But please send me your question. I look forward to learning from you and to continuing this conversation.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lopez. And then Ms. Henson.
Thank you very much. And my website is repmichellehenson86.com. And it's really been a pleasure getting to know you all over these last 8 years that I've represented your part of the county. And I've been pleased to be able to collaborate with Commissioner Jeff Rader to get the sidewalks on La Vista Hill from Pangborn to Oak Grove. That was something that affected your area only, and hopefully the sidewalks are going to happen. DOT has allocated that money. But I also believe right now, during these challenging times, and given that I serve on the powerful Appropriations Committee, where you need the seniority, I have the understanding of what is needed with the community, with the county, and with the state of Georgia. And I think that my experience, my knowledge, my skill set of being able to work within the legislature, bring us out of the second recession in a short period of time. The last one was 2008. So I'm asking for your support and your vote in this coming election. Michelle Henson.
All right, thank you very much. And then we have Dr. Bolton. All right, there we go.
Thank you so much again for allowing us this opportunity. And thank you, Ms. O'Neill. Those were some kind words, but I agree with everything that you said about us being able to work together and make a huge difference in our community. But I'd like to reiterate as well that, again, I am from the community. I'm raising my children here, and it's more important now that we have more scientists in the state legislature with the pandemic occurring, and now that we're looking more into the Green New Deal or sustainable communities, someone who has that expertise should be readily available to all of us neighbors and residents. But if you would like to continue this conversation, I'm very responsive. You can reach me at join us at bolton4decab.com, and that's 4FOR. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, and my website are all the same, Bolton for DeKalb. Make sure you vote Bolton now through June 19th, or June 9th, excuse me. Oh, goodness.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bolton. And thank you, candidates, for coming out and working us into your schedule. So I understand that you guys are going to drop off the call so that you can attend the Young Democrats forum that's also going on this evening. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we are now going to move on to pick up with kind of how we had regularly planned this. We're going to hear from members who are running for U.S. Congress for the 4th district. So we have on the Democratic primary, there are 3 candidates running, and we also have a candidate attending who is on the Republican ballot. And we did reach out to all candidates, and only 2 have responded and agreed to participate in the forum. So let's see, and I'm gonna now unmute. There we go. So we should have Josie Cruz and Elaine Neatman. Let's see, did I get that?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. All right, Ms. Cruz, and then
Perfect.
Ms. Neatman?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
yeah, I can hear you. And am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you very much for participating this evening. Let's see, and I have is William Hasto?
I'm here.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great, you are here. Okay, super. All right, and then,
Great.
so this is gonna, in case you joined late, the way we are running through the candidates is we're going to have 1 minute and 30 seconds for a stump speech. And then we have a few questions that we're gonna ask. We have 3, some are gonna be timed a little bit short. And then we will have a 1-minute conclusion where you can have your concluding remarks. So Ms. Cruz, you're on the Republican primary ballot.
That's correct.
And then Mr. Hasto and Ms. Neatman, you're on the Democratic ballot. So the way we're going to go, we're just going to do Ms. Cruz, you, and then run through the Democratic candidates. And then when we get to the questions, we'll reverse that order like we did previously. So with that, Ms. Cruz, we have 1 minute and 30 for your stump speech, and the floor is yours.
I am Josie Cruz. I am running for the 4th Congressional District number 4 in Georgia. And I am a proud American. I came into the United States in a legal way. It took me 12 years to become an American. I have 3 daughters. I am divorced. And I work in the medical field in the administrative art. And one of my motive, what I am running to help out District number 4 when I get elected, is to promote prosperity, to promote opportunity, and to bring healing back to the district. So I love this country. I really promote and uphold and uplift our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then Mr. Is it Hasto? Is that right?
Haston. Haston, sorry.
Haston. Okay. I guess a typo. So the same. If you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to introduce yourself to us.
Awesome. Thank you. My name is William Haston. I am a native of East Tennessee. I went to school there, grew up there my entire life. Joined the Air Force in 2008 at the height of the financial crisis. And spent the subsequent 8.5 years there, and moved to DeKalb shortly after when my wife and I decided that we would make this our home. My campaign is really built on 5 key principles. The first, and what I feel to be the most important one, is ending political corruption. The second one, the Green New Deal. Third is college for all. The fourth is Medicare for all, and the fifth is ensuring that we do have universal health care. And so really with those principles in mind, it is my goal to bring power back to people over the corporate interests that currently have hold of our political system.
All right, thank you very much. See, and then Ms. Neatman. Sorry, okay. There you go. I can hear you.
Okay. So I can't share a screen, can I? Am I allowed to?
I think you can. I think that's enabled.
Okay, it says host attendee, able screen sharing. It's okay. I don't want to take up your time. I was hoping to share my flyer. When your timer starts, I can go.
There you go.
I hope it. Okay. My name is Elena Mankwa Neatman. I am an immigrant myself. I came here from West Africa at the age of 8. My background is I'm an attorney. I'm a public defender, and also I am a guardian ad litem in Gwinnett County Probate Court. I hear the concerns of the district. Crime is on the rise. Poverty is on the rise. And I want to go to Washington and represent our needs and do what I can do to make sure that our district is a better place to live. Education is one of the main platforms of my campaign because I know the root causes that is right now driving the school to prison pipeline. And I want to go to Washington and make sure the Congress does its part to fund education, especially special education, which has been underfunded since inception in the 70s, to make sure that we are taking care of our students and avoiding the school to prison pipeline. So my motivation is to make sure that I go to Congress and I represent this district. Don't get caught up in what's going on in Washington and everything else, but focus specifically in bringing opportunities to the constituents and making sure that I'm taking care of our constituents. and making sure that we have vocational school programs, we have education that's affordable, healthcare that's affordable, taking care of our veterans, immigration reform. Those are my priorities right now. And I want to make my folks exclusively on what the district needs and not get caught up in what's going on in Washington. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. And so now we're going to move on to several questions. The first question, and there's a minute to respond. And again, if you need me to repeat the question when it's your turn, just let me know. But if I could get away with reading it once, that'd be great. So the question, is the government doing enough to support small businesses and individuals during this pandemic? If yes, please explain what programs are sufficient. If no, what more should be done? And then Ms. Neatman, we're going to start with you. So let's see. We have 1 minute and the floor is yours.
The government is not doing enough right now to support small businesses. I myself am a small business owner. I run my own law practice and I've been doing so for the past few years. For one thing, criminals right now do not qualify for PPP. In my practice, in my current practice, I have come across so many individuals that couldn't get a job because of their background, because they have felonies in the background. So being the great state that we have, very good with entrepreneurship, they started their own business, a thriving business they have going for them. So to not give them the bailout that is being given to other corporations and letting them be able to qualify for PPP under the CARES Act is just unheard of. You're leaving those businesses to die. And right now the government needs to step up and open up that opportunity to businesses that have individuals that are running it that have criminal backgrounds. They should not have to be punished permanently for their past.
All right, thank you. And then let's see, Mr. Haston, the same question.
Sure. So I'll start with the individual. Of course, the government is not doing nearly enough to help individuals in the midst of the pandemic. Since the very beginning, I truly believe that every single person, regardless of your status, should receive $2,000 a month until we come out on the other side of this, so that people can remain whole and be sustained with their families. As far as small business goes, I will tell you that seeing the government print $12 trillion worth of money and watching it go to businesses like Ruth's Chris, the Los Angeles Lakers, and other giant corporations that don't need the money is gross and really comes down to legislative incompetence in that way. We need to understand exactly what the Small Business Association is doing with the money so that we can ensure that those people who really are thriving and driving the economy in our community are receiving the greatest amount of help that the federal government can provide them.
All right, thank you very much. And then, see, Ms. Cruz, the same question for you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, do I need,
Okay.
you need to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it's, is the government doing enough to support small businesses and individuals during the pandemic? If yes, please explain what programs are sufficient. If no, what more should be done?
I believe the administration is doing the best that they can do to help out the small businesses, and not only the small businesses, but also the citizens. The problem that we're having in Washington, D.C. is that they are taking this crisis in a political way, and they are delaying a lot of actions they shouldn't be taking a long time ago. When I say that, I'm talking specifically about the House. What I'm saying is by they delaying week after week and time after time and going back and forth, we are going to be seeing our economy affected, and not only small businesses closing down, but we're going to be seeing big businesses that are over 50-something years old functioning. This week, some of them announced that they were closing. For example, Macy's, one of the retail companies. Another one is Pier Number One. You know, it's a company that is being for a long time working in. And this politics, we're going back and forth. That's what is giving hard time. But I believe the administration is doing the best it can.
All right, thank
to
you.
help out. Thank you.
Okay, so the next question that we have, and the time for this is 45 seconds. It is, what would you propose to do to protect school kids from gun violence? And Ms. Cruz, will start with you.
Well, as you know, I'm coming from a country called Venezuela, and one of the reasons why Venezuela has so much violence and crime over there is because the legal people, the right people, the people who behave good, they took away from them the guns, the ability to defend their family and to defend themselves. I believe one of the reasons that we could improve the crime in our school is giving training to our teachers, giving training to the maintenance people, everybody who's working in the school who wanted to be trained and certified and basically wanted to do it voluntarily. That we can have in if school this kind of training to protect our children, starting for the principal all the way down to the maintenance. That's my belief. I don't believe that we can control a criminal with taking the guns away, because one way or another, they always going to end up getting the guns.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz. Then Mr. Haston, we're moving on to you with the same question.
Sure. I believe we need an entire registry that is electronic and tied to the National Criminal Information Center that lets us know who has exactly what weapon. And I believe that those databases need to include ammunition. You know, one of the things that is truly appalling is the fact that we have weapons of war on the street. You know, as someone who is trained in using the M16, the M4, the M9, and the Glock 9mm at close range, I truly believe that these weapons do not have a place with the average citizen in our society. And so understanding that having a registry that is tied to the NCIC will allow us to understand obviously who has what, but then going so far as to close the boyfriend loopholes, the gun show loopholes, to ensure that there's not this ability for people to slip through the cracks and continue to get their hands on weapons in that way.
All right, thank you. And then Ms. Neatman, the same question.
I believe that we need to start with mental health. Mental health, there's a huge crisis right now that we need to deal with mental health. I think Congress was on the right track when they started researching mass shootings. Now we need to follow through and find out what research actually comes up with what needs to be done. I believe that I personally have been affected by mental health as a mother with children with special needs in special education. It blew my mind when I had one kid evaluated by a school psychologist and they said, we only give academic services. We don't check for any other psychological issues that are going on with the child because we will not address that. That is something that I definitely want to address in Congress, that we provide funding that allow for our school and our educators to be able to do evaluations on our children if they're recommended by a teacher or a peer that will check for mental health issues to address these things, to avoid them from happening.
All right, thank you. And then our last question is, and there's 30 seconds for the response to this one. Ms. Neatman, we're going to start with you. And that is, do you support term limits for members of Congress?
I definitely support term limits for members of Congress. The question is, what should those term limits be? And that's something that I believe that Congress needs to convene and make sure that they address it. Because there are congressmen that are currently there that have been sitting there for years. They're not doing what they need to, but because of the love for them personally, not for the district, they're getting reelected over and over again. The congressman may be a nice guy, he may be a friend, a pal to you, but what is he doing for the district? There needs to be accountability for that, and having people run against them and making sure that we limit those terms is what's gonna give them that accountability.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Haston, the same question.
Sure. No, I am not in favor of term limits. We're seeing in Florida, they imposed term limits 4 years ago. They are sensibly seeing turnover in their legislators, but the paid staff that aren't elected are staying. And so those are now the people who are choosing politicians to then turn and create policy in their own way. And so you're seeing a system that is fundamentally corrupted by people who are able to stay long-term unelected, and they're just switching out the people who are essentially the front for their operation.
All right, thank you very much. And then Ms. Cruz, the same question for you.
Yeah, it seems like Mr. Helston about the deep state, including in the states, in each state, not only in Washington, D.C. I do believe the representatives or any person who is elected should have a term limit, but as well as the people who is working inside. Those ones who are not being elected, but they still can hold the power to decide who comes in and who comes out. Those ones who decide to put some trap so other the new incoming can fall into any fall and then kick them out of the position with people and citizens decided to elect that person. So I think it should be for all the way, not only for the person incoming, but those ones who stay in there. We need to clean house and every time include new persons coming in.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cruz. And Mr. Haston, since we did announce rule at the beginning of the forum that if someone calls out we said incumbent, but a candidate, so Mr. Haston, if you want to take a time to respond to that comment, you're welcome to.
Sure. No, I appreciate Ms. Cruz's insight on what in cleaning house completely. That part I do completely agree with. I do believe that the fundamental issue in our political system is that people who are well connected and allowed to be insiders tend to stay insiders, and they mold our politics in a very certain way. I believe that it kind of shifts and moves with kind of where the money is coming from. The first thing that I said was ending corruption. Obviously, that is the money within our politics, and those are the things that really are allowing people to kind of stay in power, for 30, 40, 50 years is their ability to raise money. And so, term limits are great, and they seem like a really good idea on the surface, but until we can figure out a way to root out the fundamental corruption of, money influencing the people who are allowed to be and stay insiders, term limits is kind of a Band-Aid for what I would consider a gushing wound.
All right, thank you, Mr. Haston. So we are going to move on to the concluding remarks, and everyone will have 1 minute for concluding remarks. And if you'd like to announce your website or contact information, this would be the section where you can do that. So we're going to go, Ms. Cruz, we're going to start with you.
Yes, my website is josiecruz2020.com. I'm going to spell it for you, JOHSIECRUZ2020.com. You can go ahead and read my blogs, all my issues, what I stand for. I am a Republican and a proud American who came here to the United States and love this country. I assimilated, and one of my motive to go to Congress is to bring, like I said from the beginning, prosperity, to bring opportunity, to bring healing to the community. Because my motto is like it says here, Black, Asian, Latino, and white unite. It's time for District Number 4 to unite, work together. I wanted to work across the aisle. I want to reach everybody and work together when I get elected. I believe as an American, having the experience of being living in third world countries and then comparing our country, I think I am the best solution and the best option. Thank you so much, and God bless you, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you very much. And then Mr. Haston, we're going to move on with you for your concluding remarks.
Sure. I really appreciate you guys having me and giving me the opportunity to kind of give my spiel as everybody is doing this time of year. But really, my goal as an elected official is to go to DC and fight. I think that with the way our politics work now, closed mouths don't get fed. And so if we're not fighting tooth and nail every single day for the people of our district, we're doing a great disservice. My website is williamhaston.com. I have tons of issues there, all the things that I feel very passionately about as a progressive Democrat, running definitely to the left of, I think, most everybody that I've come in contact with. My Twitter, Instagram, Facebook are all William 4 Forga and the number 4. I have regular updates, videos with different issues that I've spoken about, and so there's always information there about what's going on within our campaign. So thank you again. I really do appreciate it.
All right, thank you. And then Ms. Neatman, we're gonna move on to you.
Again, my name is Elena Manqua Neatman. I have really, for the past several years living in this district, children in this district, I've seen the ins and outs, and I've heard the concerns of the citizens, and I know what's going on, and I've researched to see what can be done on the congressional level to help it. A proud moderate Democrat, a supporter of Biden. I have been from the very beginning. I'm proud to endorse him. I am here to hear your concerns. I want to be the congressional leader that hears the concerns, not just hears it, but goes to Washington and gets things done for this district. Start programs that can help with mental health. Start programs that can decrease poverty, increase economic development. Start programs that can take care of our children, especially those that are struggling in our schools with special education, and avoid getting into that that school to prison pipeline. I've been in the juvenile courts of DeKalb County, and I've seen and I've heard the concerns, and I am here ready, willing to help to make this district a better place for everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you to all the candidates for taking your time to talk with us this evening. And so that concludes our portion for the U.S. Congress for the 4th District.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely. And we totally understand if you guys.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. If you guys want to drop off the call at this point, you're more than welcome to. We're now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
We're now going to move on to the next race that we have, which is State Senate 41. And let's see. So I know we have Kim Jackson. And then let's see, I was going to make sure no one else is here. Doesn't look like. We have Gil Freeman is also on the ballot, and Mohammed Hossein. And then Beverly Jones did say that she would attend, but she let me know that something has come up. She's having to help some folks who lost some loved ones due to COVID-19 this evening, so she is unable to attend. Ms. Jackson, it looks like you are the only candidate in attendance for State Senate District 41. And just for those, this is Steve Henson's seat. He is not running, so there's no incumbent running in this election. So we'll just go with the same process we've been going through. So you have a minute and 30 seconds for your stump speech.
Great. Well, good evening. Yeah, I can hear you. I was waiting for your timer to show up, that's all.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us for this forum. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Kim Jackson, and I am running for Senate District 41. I am an Episcopal priest, and I serve a congregation in which 90% of my members are experiencing homelessness in downtown Atlanta. Tonight, when most of us will go down to lay in our own beds, my parishioners will sleep on the streets tonight. And so I come with a deep passion for issues around affordable housing and economic development opportunities for all. I also come with a long history of fighting for justice on behalf of those who are often marginalized and thought of and forgotten about. That's how my ministry has been shaped, but that's also how I have lived my life as a citizen actively. I'm running on a platform to create a safer, a fairer, and a more prosperous Georgia. When I talk about safer, I'm talking about things like protecting our vote and making sure that our votes are counted, whether they're sent in the mail or whether you press the button on the screen. And when I talk about a fairer Georgia, I'm talking about education reform. We have to reform our schools. Students who live in the northern part of my district receive a much different education than those who live in the southern part. And so we need to have a fair system there. And when we talk about a more prosperous Georgia, we're talking about economic development. Our district is so desperately in need of additional economic development and opportunities for other people. we'll stop there. I have lots of time.
Thank you. I appreciate
It's
it.
just me, so, yeah.
So our questions, since you are going to be voting on some of the same issues that the Georgia House folks would also be voting on, our questions for you are the same. You know, we've allocated a minute response time for those. And the first one is, you know, our members live in the proposed footprint of Vista Grove. How would you vote on legislation that would allow citizens to decide whether the city gets created or not? Let's see. And so 1 minute for that. Go ahead, please.
No, thank you. So this question is so important, I think, to everyone who's in that footprint, because it ultimately impacts how your life will be shaped. And what I want to say is that I fundamentally support a person's right and a people's right to vote. I think that this is a democracy, and that's important. So I'm not interested and invested in using my power as a senator to prevent people from being able to vote. What I will say is that there often is this thing of, well, if we let it go to vote, then people will vote yes, and then we'll be in a city that we don't necessarily want to be in. And I hope by now we understand that grassroots movements can help influence whether or not a person votes yes or no on a referendum. It is no longer true that just because something goes on a ballot that the citizenry will vote yes. We saw that with the ethics bill. And so I am willing to have this go to ballot and let people vote on it because I trust the electorate. And I trust people who live in the district, who live in the proposed plan to be able to make decisions on behalf of themselves.
All right, thank you. And then the next question, the DeKalb Ethics Board was ruled unconstitutional by the Georgia Supreme Court because of the way members were appointed, with some being appointed by folks who were not elected. Would you vote yes on a simple fix that would just simply fix how members are appointed to the board? And if you think additional fixes are needed, would you have those be accomplished in separate legislation?
Yeah, I absolutely do support a simple fix. I'm one of the 92% of DeKalb voters who voted for the very first referendum, right, that established the board. And so I think it's really important that we get our ethics board back up and running quickly. And then, you know, I think what voters in my district taught me is that they do think that there's some additional problems with the ethics board. This is why you saw a divide across the district around this issue. And so, yes, I would want us to pick up the other issues and other legislation, or the DeKalb charter review. Maybe they'll pick those issues up too. But I just think it's imperative that we address all of the issues, not just the appointment process.
All right, thank you. And then to conclude, 1 minute for any concluding remarks and any contact information or website that you want to pitch.
Sure. Again, thank you all so much for having me here. My name is Kim Jackson, and my website is kimforgeorgia.com. Again, that's Kim for Georgia. Friends, I'm running because fundamentally I believe in fighting the good fight on behalf of all of us. I have a long experience of working across a lot of differences. For a long time, I served a congregation that we call it purple. It was half red and half blue. And I was able to pastor to both sides and able to do ministry at both sides. And so fundamentally, when you're in a place like Georgia, if you can't work across the aisle, you're not going to be effective. And so know that I know how to do that, and I come ready to do that. But ultimately, my job, my goal is to make sure that District 41 and the residents there are cared for well, that we have all the opportunities that we need in order to thrive. And so I come ready to fight for that, to fight on behalf of all the citizens of District 41, and in particular, for those who are often not seen, for those who are sleeping on the streets tonight, for those who are struggling to pay their rent. Thank you so much for your time. Again, it's kimforgeorgia.com.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And just to be clear, there are multiple candidates in some of these races, and some candidates are not attending tonight. Some campaigns did not respond to us, and in State Senate 41, Ms. Jones did have a conflict, Beverly Jones, but we did not hear back from the other campaigns. So, Ms. Jackson, we appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us this evening.
Absolutely, thank you.
You're welcome. So that's going to conclude the State Senate 41, and we're now going to move on to DeKalb District 6, our District 6 commissioners. There's also no incumbent in this race. And for those that may be wondering, because Jeff Rader is our commissioner, Super District 6, it's an overlay district, and it encompasses the about the west half of DeKalb County. So let's see, I'm going to find those candidates and unmute them. And then let's see.
I'm here, Nicholas.
All right, great, thanks. And then let's see, one more. So I've got Emily Halvey and Mayor Ted Terry. Let's see, I'm gonna just look and see if the other candidate is. I don't see him on my list. So Miriam Ahmad. Okay. So thank you guys for taking the time to come out tonight and to talk to us. I do really appreciate it. And just you know, as you guys have been seeing how we're doing things, we just have 1 minute and 30 seconds for a stump speech. We do have 2 questions for each of you, and then we'll have 1 minute for concluding remarks. So, and we're just going in the order that you appear on the ballot. And then for the questions, we're switching that up. But let's see, Ms. Halvey, we will start with you. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for hosting this forum, and thanks for having me here tonight. My name is Emily Halvey. I'm running for DeKalb County Super District 6 Commissioner. I'm a mom of 2, a media executive, and a community advocate. Growing up in a military family, we moved 22 times across 5 states. And my last stop before hitting here was to get my degree at the University of Florida. But I've been in DeKalb County now for 17 years. And on moving here, I really finally found a home. So when a zoning notice was taped to my door a few years ago, I knew that I couldn't just let my neighborhood fall without a fight. I've got 2 developments surrounding me. I live right at the Kensington MARTA station. We're under a lot of development right now. So I had to learn quickly what protections we had as citizens and as homeowners. I had to learn who our allies were on the commission and how to work with developers, not always just against them. And really the biggest lesson of all was how to use my voice on behalf of our community. And through that, my fight became less about my own home and more for the support of the community at large and focused around affordable housing. Through my advocacy work, I built the Coalition for a Diverse DeKalb, an affordable housing coalition that reaches every commission district in the county. I also now sit on the board of Project Community Connections, a rapid rehousing organization aimed at providing housing and wraparound services to those experiencing homelessness. So in addition to continue my work on smart development policies, I'm also looking forward to working on transit-oriented development and reducing traffic and expanding transportation access throughout the county. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we'll move on to, it's listed on the ballot as Edward Ted Terry. It's also right. Mayor of Clarkston. So
yeah.
Mayor Ted.
Thank you, Nicholas. Yes, former mayor of Clarkston here, Ted Terry. And yes, Edward is my God-given name and my dad's name and my grandfather's name. So it's my family name, but appreciate that introduction. And yes, and greetings to my neighbor just around the corner from Clarkston. Y'all are just literally, 1 exit away off of 285. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I've served the last 6 years and 3 months as mayor of the city of Clarkston here in DeKalb County. Before that, I've worked as a consultant for nonprofits, for campaigns, for organizations, focused on bringing people together. And I've started off as an activist, moved into advocacy through my work with the Georgia AFL-CIO, the labor union umbrella organization here in Georgia, and then was hired 3 years ago as the director of the Georgia Sierra Club. So I ran that statewide organization, $1 million plus budget, staff of 15 during the election years, and focused on sustainability, expanding transit, expanding clean energy, and taking action on climate change. I've tried to lead by example. And here in Clarkston, we were the first city in Georgia to decriminalize marijuana possession. We raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and we even made Election Day a holiday. You can learn more about me at my website, tedfordecab.com, and I ask everyone to vote for me. I want to bring new energy, new ideas to help move DeKalb forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then we're going to move on to 2 questions that we have. The first question, this is a minute for response time, and that is, so District 6, as I mentioned, is a super district, and it spans from Dunwoody to Oakhurst to Gresham Road to Boulder Crest Road. How would you represent your entire district and work to unite DeKalb and heal the north-south divide that exists? So we'll start with you, Mayor Ted.
Okay, yeah, great. Thanks, Nicholas. Yeah, so the great thing about being the Super 6 district commissioner is that it overlaps with 4 other districts. And I honestly, I know I've heard stories of why that system exists, but it is sort of a unique situation. You don't really see districts like this. You see a lot of at-large districts around the state. But I think the Super 6 district is it's incumbent upon that position, that person, to work with each of the the nested district commissioners. The budgets are the same, the staff sizes are usually the same, and it doesn't make sense for a super commissioner to work on a separate track than the commissioners in 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's what we got to do. And so I think number one priority is figure out where if it's Commissioner Jester or someone else, Commissioner Rader, Bradshaw, or Commissioner Johnson, projects and things they're working on, we got to work with them to move those forward. That's what I'll do.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Halevy?
Thank you. Yeah, I have been doing this work already. I've been working to create equity in our policies and programs at the county level. Living off Memorial Drive, I've witnessed these divisions and inequities firsthand, which is why I formed Coalition for Diverse DeKalb to address these challenges. And frankly, we're not going to address our housing, transportation, and economic development needs unless we are united as a county. From my perspective as a businesswoman working in customer service, I understand that is the fundamental task at hand, is providing customer service to all of our constituents. And so I can guarantee you, getting into this office, I will lead with transparency, with ethics, and an open door to achieve all of our goals.
All right, thank you. Then our next question. Many parts of DeKalb struggle with gentrification and redevelopment. What do you propose that would increase affordable housing in DeKalb, but also protect homeowners from overdevelopment? And Ms. Halevy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you again for this question. It's a really important one, and it's a big reason why I'm in this fight. Again, I'm smack in the middle of all of it. Living right between 2 developments, I have witnessed the gentrification. I've worked with residents to find them new housing, which is incredibly hard to find. At the same time, we also have completely underdeveloped resources at our disposal, like the Kensington MARTA station, like the Indian Creek MARTA station, that really can see some more development happen. And so I think that we can take a balanced approach by looking at where we have these public resources, where we have room to grow, making sure we highlight those areas and bring development there rather than encroaching on our neighborhoods. Thanks.
All right, thank you. See, and then Mr. Terry, the same question for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I like to say, there's an old saying, don't tell me what you believe, show me what you've done, and then I'll tell you what you believe. And my record in Clarkston on housing, I think, it speaks for itself. And I'll mention several things that we did during my tenureship. We created the city's first ever affordable housing trust. We were able to secure $200,000 to create a program and a fund for down payment assistance, for energy efficiency improvements, or for situations we're in right now where people need immediate eviction relief funds. And the city of Clarkston actually is discussing that next week. So I'm proud to have initiated that fund and to actually make sure there was money in it. Clarkston also amended our zoning ordinances to allow for the first ever tiny home neighborhood in Georgia to be constructed. It's a little bit delayed right now, but will be completed later this year. And it's basically a cottage home development ordinance that just allows smaller houses on smaller lots. And we got to be more creative and innovative when it comes to housing. And that means looking at all levels, from mixed use down to cottage homes and tiny homes.
All right, thank you. And so then we'll conclude with the 1 minute for any remarks that you have. And we'll start with you, Mr. Terry.
Yeah, well, I just ask for everyone's votes on or before June 9th. Early voting has already started. On my website, tedfordecab.com, I have a helpful voting page for any questions about absentee ballots, early voting, election protection issues, and the election protection hotline. I've laid out 5 major issue areas with policy papers on each, and so I encourage everyone to check those out. I also want to take this last moment to do something we don't usually do, and that's pay a compliment to our opponents. I want to just recognize the work that Emily has been doing. We heard just a couple of days ago that MARTA pulled back on their rezoning at the Kensington MARTA station to make sure there's a master plan, and that was the work that Emily did to make sure that happened, and I think that's a great thing for that entire area. So great job, Emily. Just kudos to that work. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you very much. And then Ms. Halevy, same for you, 1 minute for concluding remarks.
Well, thank you, Ted, for those kind words. For too long, DeKalb County has worked in silos. We've had tremendous amount of ethics issues. We need a candidate in the seat who has ethics and transparency as a core value, who has customer service as a core value. And I'm the only candidate who has demonstrated years of participation and dedication and service to this county and its citizens at the county level. The past 5 years, I have spent more hours at Board of Commission meetings, at PECS committee meetings, at community council meetings, and have made recommendations at those meetings that have actually come to light, as Ted just mentioned, including the master plan for MARTA. I'm also the only business person in this race. I'm the only candidate who has worked in multi-million-dollar organizations at an executive level and been held accountable to people's livelihoods. So I understand the responsibility and have the knowledge to foster economic development. I ask for your vote on June 9th. My website is emilyfordecab.com. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you both for joining us this evening and taking your time to speak with us. And thank you for your contributions to the county. It's hard work, and it takes a lot of effort, and it takes folks like you to make DeKalb a better place. So I appreciate it. And just to be clear, I did not say this, there is no incumbent in your race. So all the candidates are, new to the race. We did reach out to the candidate Miriam Ahmad, who did not respond to us. So thank you very much again. And that concludes our section for DeKalb Super District 6. And we're now going to move on to the race for tax commissioner. Let's see. See, and Ms. McCaskill, I've got you. So, Ms. McCaskill, thank you for joining us. You're running against the incumbent, Irvin Johnson. And we did reach out to Mr. Johnson. He did not provide contact information on the Georgia Secretary of State's website. I could not find contact information on his campaign website, but we did email the tax commissioner's the DeKalb County office multiple times and didn't get a response. So we will proceed, and have a minute and 30 seconds to introduce yourself and for your stump speech.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate this. Thank you to everyone, all the candidates, and to Pangborn Civic Association. So again, my name is Rosalind Allison McCaskill. I've been an advocate, implementing, and an executor starting in high school, where I had several student organizations. Also during college, I graduated from North Carolina Central University in criminal justice and a minor in political science, and also did a lot of community service. My whole career has been family, community driven, implementing solutions, and knowing what a person wants an ability to give change, to be able to live and thrive and succeed no matter where they live and who they are. So over the past 25 years, I know I look young. I've managed services and community engagement from nonprofit to profit and government agencies. When I worked in Virginia, I assisted re-entering citizens, returning citizens receive their rights to vote again. So that has actually been reinstated in the state of Virginia. I have an 11-year-old, 23, and an 87-year-old that I take care of. I did go back to school for my master's in social work at Clark Atlanta University. And I'm running now as a nonprofit business owner and to make changes and to implement differences. So currently I am a project manager at Ebenezer Baptist Church, which is the nonprofit is the collaborative. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And so now we have two questions for you with a minute each for a response. So the first question is, reset timer. What is a major issue facing the tax commissioner's office, and what would you do to fix it?
One of the things with COVID-19 has definitely been communication. I've been hearing people asking me, well, what do I do, or should I do this? So it's been definitely communication, advocacy, and then being able to increase levying taxes. So being able to levy taxes, increasing, bringing in the tax money, and that comes with education and communication. Because if a person does not know why they are paying, they won't pay. And because the education is not there from the elementary, middle school, through college, and just different people in the community, they won't know. So when and giving education will help that, and advocating on behalf of everyone, as far as working with the state, the Senate, and the zoning, working with them to be able to put forth better policies and procedures, and to help with that of whatever the missing links are. There's several links. So, and then in communication, we'll start with everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, and then the next question is, in response to the pandemic, the tax commissioner has suspended telephone customer service. What would your pandemic plan be to get us through any residual effects of the current pandemic, but also deal with any future pandemic that might arise?
So in that, as I mentioned about the communication, there should have been, if not some type of contingency plan. So a contingency plan, no matter if it's flood, pandemic, the lights out, security breach, when that comes into place, the community already know what's going to take place, and then the office will know what to take place. So no communication should be cut off. Now, if we don't have phone services, then we still have mail. We still have something else that can make sure people are aware of what's going on. Because when a person feels like they're not included, then it makes them feel even more withdrawn. So definitely implementing a contingency plan that not only that the community is aware of, so that things can be smooth and everybody can be informed. Even with this simple thing as the admission, people want to go to the grocery store. Well, they didn't know, if I get in my car, will I get a ticket because my admissions had expired. So thank you.
All right, thank you. And then we have 1 minute for concluding remarks. And if you have any website or contact info you'd like to give us as well.
Okay, so yes, Rosalind Allison, I'm Rosalind Allison McCaskill, but my website is Rosalind McCaskill, McCaskill, the number 4, DeKalb.com. And yes, my final thoughts is I just wanted to also say that making an impact in the tax commissioner is allowing me to make impact in many areas. People don't think of the tax commissioner being an important position, but it's very important. It plants the way the county moves. And if different things are not planted, they don't move accordingly. I offer citizens a new direction of accountability and have the citizens' best interest in mind. My opponent is a nice guy, worked tirelessly in the tag office for over 20 years, but he's just doing. and I am ready to do more than just doing, coming in to address concerns and issues on behalf of the whole community and the citizens. My focus of improving county financial health and more conscious of the decrease in past collections and the limited amount of collections. So vote for me, Rosalind Allison McCaskill, the Tax Commissioner. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was wonderful. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So now we will move on to the final segment, which is the Public Service Commission. So I'll find those candidates and unmute them. So we have Daniel Blackman joining us, and then let's see, we should have John Knoll. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see. So I was looking. Do I have? Okay. So I've got both. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Great.
Yes, sir.
Super. Let's see.
My phone name may throw you off there.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Normally I
not
work
in
with
my
my laptop,
term.
but the phone gives me away, I'm afraid.
So I know that John, you had mentioned wanting to share some slides and seeing if we could screen share. Someone tried to do that earlier and ran into some technical difficulties.
It's okay.
So.
It's okay. If we have a minute and a half, it's not enough time for slides anyway.
Okay. All right. So we will, so yeah, as we've been doing this with the other folks, we will start with a stump speech for a minute and 30 seconds, and then we will move on to 2 questions that we have, and then a minute for concluding remarks. And we will start in the order that you appear on the ballot. So Mr. Blackman, let's get a minute and 30 seconds on the timer, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the candidates. Thank you to John Knoll, who my path and his have crossed on many occasions fighting the Public Service Commission. I'm from Columbus, Georgia, and moved to Atlanta to attend Clark Atlanta University. My wife is an alum of Spelman College. We started our family, and I got involved in Democratic politics, starting off by helping Shirley Franklin become mayor of the city of Atlanta. And about 6 or 7 years after that, I made the crazy decision to move to Forsyth County, Georgia, which was to make sure that we could move more democratic ideals and progressive values to that part of the state and to open up those opportunities. By trade, I have served over the last 3.5 years with a company here in Atlanta on government contracting, getting minority businesses involved with environmental contracts, sustainability, environmental justice, and other ideologies that deal with the government. We've done work with the EPA, the Department of Energy, and also supported civic opportunities to expand renewable energy throughout the state of Georgia. I serve on the board of the ACLU in Georgia, and I also served on the board of Callenwald, which is in DeKalb County, and it's an organization that has preserved a lot of the history in the state. And what I want to say to all those, so we can go into our questions, is there are really 3 things that are most important to me about this bill, about this election for Public Service Commission. Number 1, making sure that we put the interests of the people ahead of the profits of utility companies. There's a quote that says it's hard to get a man to understand something if his salary depends on him not understanding it. And we have a Public Service Commission that has been caught up in the profits of utility companies. I want to extend wireless broadband to rural Georgia. And then lastly, we need to build a workforce that can support the workforce for a green energy future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then Mr. Knoll, same, you have a minute and 30 seconds. Oh, wait, hang on, sorry.
Sorry,
wait,
can you hear me?
Yeah, no, you were muted. So
okay, cool.
There you go.
You want to start
All right,
over.
we're back.
Okay.
We're back. I'm resetting my clock. I want to be respectful of the time. I saw earlier my friends, people were running for the House, and it made me turn a little nostalgic because I too ran, won, lost for the state House, and have served in the legislature, and I know what that's about. So I'm not a novice to government, and I think that's helpful. in terms of just hearing from people like Reverend Kim and the fight that she's taking on, you know, I don't know her. I don't know any of those candidates, but my heart goes out to them and to the work that she and others are doing. And I feel a little kinship in that, because right now we have this COVID problem. And I've been 20 years in business. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, I've created a lot of jobs, and at this point I'm kind of going, whoa, what's going on? My point here is that in 20 years, we're in an unprecedented point in our situation, and we need to have COVID utility relief for people, and we need the Public Service Commission standing up to do that. And when we have 5 Republican commissioners on the PSC, that's not happening. They're in the pockets of the utility companies. I'm a farm-raised environmentalist. I believe in solar power. I have properties that run almost entirely on solar power. I drive an electric car. So from my standpoint, I would encourage you to go to my website, John Noel for PSC, and also over Twitter as New Energy Guy. We have a lot of content out there. We're having town halls. We're doing a lot of the right things to get a good message out there to talk about a green energy economy, which is what I really want to build and put on the Public Service Commission.
All right, thank you. So now we have 2 questions with a minute allocated for the response for each. So the first question is going to be, and we'll start with you, Mr. Knoll.
Yeah.
So the PSC is currently, as you mentioned, 100% Republican. If elected in November, you would probably be the only Democrat on the PSC. So how would you advocate for your constituents while being faced with an overwhelming Republican majority?
Well, let me correct you, actually, for the questioner. There are 2 seats up. This is one of the reasons I decided to enter this race, is because there are 2 seats up. There's a seat in the South. And I think working together with the candidate from the South, I can help change the complexion of the commission. I mean, it is really utility oriented right now. So I started, when I lost my last race, and I ran 2 years ago for this seat, I got a call from Tim Echols, the Republican, who said, John, nobody in Georgia knows energy like you and me. You're a Democrat, I'm a Republican. Can we do a radio program together? So for 8 months, until I bowed out, because I wanted to run and I didn't want to hurt his feelings and put him in an awkward position, I had a radio program that was just this, a bipartisan way of looking at things. And when we disagreed, we tangled. But I to say I have a friend on the commission, I have an understanding on the commission. There are people on that commission I can deal with. And so I think it's important to know I can work across the aisle. I'm as comfortable in a Sierra Club meeting as I am in a Chamber of Commerce meeting. That is useful and helpful.
All right, thank you very much. And then same question, Mr. Blackman.
Can you repeat the question? Because you faded out when you asked it.
Sure, absolutely. So the PSC is currently 100% Republican. If elected in November, you could be the only Democrat on the PSC. How would you advocate for your constituents while being faced with an overwhelming Republican majority?
Well, as it was mentioned in the last statement, there is another gentleman that is running for Public Service Commission, so hopefully we can have 2 Democrats. But in the event that I was elected in November and we decided to work in that area, we have to govern from outside of the Public Service Commission. We've seen when you look at the state of Georgia, 159 counties, we've seen a very Atlanta-centric ideology when there are a lot of areas like rural Georgia where they don't have access to wireless broadband. We've also seen tragedies across the state with senior citizens on a fixed income that are dealing with, paying for their medication or keeping the lights on. And those are issues that are not going to be won with 4 other members that are not thinking about poverty, not thinking about low and moderate income families that cannot put solar panels on their homes or drive electric cars. These are individuals that are not having a voice at the Public Service Commission. So I would govern not just at 244 Washington Street where the Public Service Commission is located, but I think the next Public Service Commissioner, especially one with progressive ideologies, has to travel across the state and make sure communities come first and we put people ahead of profits in this state.
All right, thank you. So then our next question is it's a 2-part question, and the first one is probably a softball, and it's a 1 minute.
Let me go first.
Time as well.
Daniel, you take the second part.
Yeah, you can't split it up like that. So you both have to answer both sections. Okay, and we're going to start with you, Mr. Blackman. So are Georgians paying more than their fair share for the new nuclear reactor at Plant Vogtle? And if elected, what can you do to help with that situation?
Well, I mean, number one, it's obvious to anyone that has watched Plant Vogtle over the last decade that ratepayers are paying more. Just look at an itemized bill, and you'll see an item called construction work in progress or nuclear cost recovery. So number one, shareholders are getting off because every time the rates go up, they're making a profit. Rate holders, like folks that I spoke to in South Georgia today, that are paying bills upwards of $500 and $600 are the ones that are bearing the brunt, and we won't be paying this off, and this is going to be going on for a long time. First part. Secondly, we already see the construction of Vogtle. It's already on multiple occasions. We've seen vote after vote after vote of giving the Public Service Commission a blank check to the utility company, and we're seeing this construction. What I would do differently is make sure that we put a focus, due to your last question, speaking about, you know, being one voice of the Public Service Commission with 4 other commissioners, I would make sure that we have a heavy emphasis on renewable energy, and we begin to educate communities on why this is the most fiscally irresponsible decision that the state of Georgia has made in the last 20 years. All
right, thank you. See, and Mr. Knowles, same thing.
How long do we have? What's our time on this? Because I'm going to get into a little detail.
You've got a minute.
Okay.
You have a minute for concluding remarks. So if you want to eat up some of that,
yeah, I hear you. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, I got you. All right. So to the question of Vogtle, man, I've talked a lot about this. We were sold a bill of goods. They said, you know, $12, $14 billion. It's turned into double that. It'll be a lot more than that. We started paying for it in advance. Who does that? I'm a licensed general contractor in the state of Georgia. I'm also a 20-year business person. I don't enter into deals that are open-ended unless I was a monopoly, in which case I could maybe get a special deal. And that's the special deal they've received. So let's go to the hard part. The easy part is talking about how the Vogtle situation was a mess, and it was a total mess, created in large part by our Republican friends on the PSC. The hard part is figuring out a solution, and that means harder and tougher accounting, looking at this thing and figuring out where we can figure out what costs are really Georgia Power's and not what were the ratepayers. That's one. But two, bringing coal plants and other plants that have a higher cost than solar mixed with batteries, bringing those online. The minute we do that, we will be able to lower the overall cost. When that new plant goes online, our bills are going up. And it's not just now. They will go up. The rate pressure will be high.
All right. Thank you. And so now we're going to move on to concluding remarks for 1 minute. And as well as this would be a chance to pitch any website or contact information. And Mr. Knoll, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, I fumbled that last time. I tend to leave it off, so I'm going to just get out there in front. So for those people that hear my message and are like, wow, this guy's got a business, background. He's an environmental tree-hugging son of a gun. He's walking what he's talking. He is the guy. Like, we want to support this person. Go to John Knoll, New Energy Guy, on Facebook and share it with your friends. Go to Twitter at New Energy Guy and share that. We've got videos every week for the last, it feels like 10 weeks, and it might be darn near it. We've been doing a Tuesday evening town hall, and we talk about broadband that Daniel, my friend Daniel, talked about before. Big issue, huge in rural Georgia. We talked about coal ash with folks from Juliet, where they're dealing with it. We've talked about all these things. We had Corinna Gore, Al Gore's daughter, on there talk about energy equity. Last Tuesday, we had all these statewide endorsers. Almost everybody from the 2018 campaign that were the Democratic nominees or candidates have endorsed my campaign. So we're really strong on this, and I would encourage you to support the campaign and let me go fight Bubba McDonald in the general election.
All right, thank you very much. And then Mr. Blackman.
I'm going to do the same as John and make sure that I say my website first so I don't leave you guys without that. It's Daniel, DANIEL, 4 FOR, and then Georgia, GEORGIA.com. I'm running for the Public Service Commission for a lot of reasons, but more importantly, because we have not had a fearless voice of the Public Service Commission, one that has put the consumers first and that takes into the account every single working family in the state of Georgia. I've not only been from Columbus, Georgia, but I've lived in Savannah, I've lived in Columbus, I've lived in Atlanta, and now I live in Forsyth County, Georgia. I understand this state. I have not only an energy policy background, but I have a civil and human rights background working in rural communities, especially with Black farmers around the United States who have not had access to capital and who have lost acreage. And I'm now working with those same farmers to ensure that we can transform their farms into solar farms and use biofuels and do multiple things to generate clean energy. Lastly, I am endorsed by Lindy Miller, who was the last Democratic nominee for the Public Service Commission. And she also was one of 2 Democrats in the state of Georgia to make it to a runoff in 2018 with great candidates. She's endorsed my campaign. I look forward to earning your support. Thank you so much. And thank you for the conversation.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
hanging in there for the length of the program and taking the time to talk to us this evening. So that is going to conclude the candidate forum. We are going to post this video on YouTube and send out the link on Nextdoor, as well as circulate it to our members so that folks will be able, who couldn't attend, will be able to watch. So again, thank you very much for taking the time to come talk to us tonight. I really appreciate it. I know that our members really appreciate it as well. So thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.